I married a man who never stood up for me, let his mother walk all over me, and prioritized Reddit over our relationship. Now that I'm pregnant, I'm done. Hi Stefan, maybe now you'll finally listen. And in case you're thinking you can speed home and stop me from leaving, don't bother. By the time you see this, I'll already be gone. Everything's packed, the car is loaded, and I've officially removed my name from the lease. Don't worry, I've set up next month's rent through direct deposit. After that, you're on your own, buddy. Surprised? I'm sure you'll act like this came out of nowhere, that you had no idea things were this bad. Because, after all, you're the perfect husband and soon-to-be father, right? Well, allow me to break it down for you in a way you might actually understand. I'm 29 years old, and I've been married to Stefan, 35M, for 5 years, together for nearly a decade. On the outside, we looked like the picture-perfect couple. But the reality? Our marriage has been a slow, suffocating nightmare, and I've finally reached my breaking point. From the very beginning, there was her. Stefan's mother has been nothing short of a walking disaster in my life. She hijacked our wedding by showing up in a white dress, claimed it was a family tradition. Spoiler, it wasn't. She's constantly criticized me, from my cooking to my appearance. She once called me fat during a family gathering, and in that moment, I turned to Stefan, waiting, hoping for him to say something, to defend me, to have my back. He just stood there. Silent. Like a coward. And it didn't stop at words. Over the years, she's accidentally destroyed my things, including my late grandmother's necklace, a piece of jewelry I treasured. She threw it out because it looked like cheap costume jewelry. And guess what Stefan said when I confronted him? That I was being too emotional and it wasn't a big deal. Let me tell you what is a big deal. While I was doing everything I could to keep our marriage afloat, Stefan spent his time on Reddit. And not just reading random things, no, he was busy rating women's boobs and handing out relationship advice like he's some kind of expert. It's funny how he has all the time in the world to type out paragraphs to strangers online but can't remember our anniversary, my birthday, or even what I do for work. Here's a fun fact. He once spent an hour debating the perfect size on Reddit, but when I asked him to help with the laundry, I'm too busy. And the sarcasm. Every time we argued, he'd throw in that condescending buddy at the end of his sentences like I was just some random person he barely tolerated. I guess cleaning, adulting, and, oh, I don't know, being a husband were all optional for him. But let's fast forward to the real reason I finally snapped. I'm 5 months pregnant with our daughter. I had imagined this being the happiest time of our lives, but instead, it's been one heartbreaking disappointment after another. His mother, of course, couldn't keep her hands off this part of my life either. She's already making comments about how she'll have to whip the girl into shape because I'm too soft. When I told Stefan I didn't want his mother influencing our daughter, especially with the way she treats me, he laughed. Laughed, like I was telling some ridiculous joke. He said his mother means well and that I was overthinking. Then came the breaking point. We were discussing childcare, and he suggested his mother should watch our daughter while we work. I told him absolutely not, and instead of listening, instead of understanding, he snapped. He called me paranoid, said I should get over it because, like it or not, his mother was going to be a big part of our daughter's life. Let me tell you something, Stefan, no, she won't. This is the same woman who believes hitting kids is discipline. I've seen her slap her nephew across the face for spilling a drink. And you expect me to leave our daughter with her? When I told him I wouldn't allow it, he told me to stop being dramatic. But what truly broke me? He missed our first ultrasound. Not because of work. Not because of an emergency. No. His mother needed him to fix her Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi. He picked that over seeing our daughter for the first time. That told me everything I needed to know about where I stood in his life, where our daughter stood. So, I packed up and left. Before you start calling or trying to guilt-trip me into coming back, don't bother. I've already spoken to a lawyer. You can't manipulate or scare me into staying anymore, and you know exactly which texts I have saved. So, Stefan, I hope you enjoy your life with your real wife, your mother, and your side hobbies on Reddit. I hope they keep you warm at night. As for me, I'm choosing a life where I don't have to beg for respect or fight for a place in my own family. I don't know if I'm the villain in your story, but let me ask the world, am I the asshole for leaving my husband after years of neglect, letting his mother mistreat me, and fearing for our future daughter's safety? Update 1. So, Stefan finally realized I was gone. Took him long enough. I was expecting an immediate barrage of texts and calls, but instead? Silence. Just when I thought he might have actually understood how serious I was, my phone lit up with a single message. Wow. Overreacting much? Overreacting. Classic. The same word he's been using for years to gaslight me into thinking his neglect was somehow my fault. I didn't even bother replying. But it gets better. Apparently, the news traveled fast because his mom called within the hour. She left a voicemail because of course she did, acting like she's been blindsided by all of this. The dramatic sighs, the shaky voice, and, my personal favorite, how could you do this to our family? Oh, I'm sorry, our family? The one where you trampled over every boundary I ever set and treated me like your personal punching bag? That family? I didn't respond. But you better believe I saved that voicemail for the lawyer. Meanwhile, I'm settling into my temporary place, an Airbnb that's small but peaceful. No passive-aggressive buddy comments, no judgmental stares, just me and a pregnancy pillow that's seen me through more emotional breakdowns than I'd like to admit. Then, reality hit. My phone started blowing up, not with messages from Stefan, but from his friends. Apparently, he's been spinning his own little narrative. Suddenly, I'm the villain. The ungrateful, hormonal wife who just snapped and abandoned her poor husband, leaving him heartbroken and confused. The best part? Someone had the audacity to text me, "You can't just leave a man because he's close to his mom." Oh, really? Is that what we're calling emotional enmeshment and neglect now? Being close? I nearly choked on my prenatal vitamins reading that one. But here's where it gets really interesting. Stefan finally decided to text me. Well, more like accuse me. He demanded to know where I was, because, in his words, we need to talk like adults. Right. Because adults miss ultrasounds to fix their mommy's Wi-Fi. I told him that everything he needed to know was in the letter I left, and that we'd be handling everything through lawyers moving forward. Predictably, he went full meltdown mode, saying I was ruining his life and that I should at least be fair and talk things through before making rash decisions. Funny how it's only a rash decision when it's my decision, huh? And speaking of fairness, let's talk about his latest stunt. Apparently, he ran straight to my parents, crying about how I blindsided him and that he was willing to work on things. My mom, bless her, was actually considering hearing him out, until I showed her the texts. All of them. The late-night conversations with random women, the passive-aggressive messages blaming me for everything, the borderline obsession with Reddit validation. Let's just say my mom is officially done with him. She told him to back off and give me space. He didn't take that well. He started guilt-tripping, bringing up the baby, saying things like, "She deserves both parents, you know. You're being selfish." Selfish. For wanting my daughter to grow up in a healthy environment instead of one where her dad values his online reputation more than his real-life family? The audacity. But the cherry on top? His mother, yes, her, decided to show up at my parents' house, unannounced, armed with homemade cookies and crocodile tears. She went on this whole dramatic spiel about how I was stealing their grandchild and breaking the family apart. My dad, who usually stays out of drama, finally had enough and told her that if she wanted to see her grandchild, maybe she should have learned how to respect the mother first. She left in a huff, muttering something about me being too sensitive. Because of course, in her mind, I'm just a hormonal wreck who's imagining things. And now, for the kicker, Stefan, in his infinite wisdom, tried one last Hail Mary to get me back. He sent me a long, rambling email about how he's willing to go to therapy, shocking, how he sees where he went wrong, and how his mom is just a lot to handle but I should try to be the bigger person. No, Stefan. I've been the bigger person for 10 years. I'm done carrying the weight of your emotional immaturity, your mom's toxicity, and your inability to see past yourself. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded it to my lawyer. So here I am, officially in the thick of it. Some days I feel relief, other days, doubt creeps in. But then I remember, he missed the ultrasound for Wi-Fi. That's all the clarity I need. Update 2. Well, things have escalated in ways I did not expect. I thought leaving would give Stefan a reality check, maybe even some time to reflect. Instead, he's doubled down on the delusions, and, surprise, his mom is leading the charge. First off, Stefan has officially gone full victim mode. He's been telling everyone that I abandoned him and that he's devastated because he's still so deeply in love with me. Cue the world's tiniest violin. According to him, I left out of nowhere, and he's just a confused husband who had no idea I was unhappy. Right. Because me crying myself to sleep for the past year was just my hormones acting up. Right, Stefan? But the kicker? His Reddit account. Yep, I found it. And let me tell you, I was not prepared for what I saw. He's been venting in some of the most cliché subreddits you can imagine. The titles alone had me laughing and crying at the same time. Wife left me while pregnant. How do I get her back? AITA for wanting my mom to be involved with my kid? How do I show my wife I'm sorry without admitting I'm wrong? Personal favorite. The comments? Absolutely brutal. Some people are eating it up, telling him he deserves better and that I'm overreacting. Others are calling him out, saying, "Dude, you missed an ultrasound for your mom's Wi-Fi? Seriously?" Honestly, it's weirdly satisfying seeing strangers call him out in ways I never could. Meanwhile, his mom hasn't given up. She's everywhere. She's texting my friends, my family, even my boss. Apparently, she called my workplace under the guise of being concerned about my well-being and wanted to know if I was coping okay with the pregnancy. Luckily, my boss is an actual human being and told her that my personal life isn't up for discussion. But still, the audacity. And then there's my parents. I thought they might crack under the pressure because they've always been the let's not cause waves type. But nope. My mom actually blocked Stefan's number after he wouldn't stop sending her links to marriage counseling retreats and guilt-tripping messages about how family is everything. My dad, on the other hand? He's been quiet, too quiet. Until last night. We were having dinner, and he just goes, "You're not going back to that clown, right?" I nearly choked on my mashed potatoes. It was the first time he's ever directly commented on my marriage, and the fact that he's calling him a clown says everything. But the real plot twist? Stefan showed up at my parents' house. Uninvited. He stood at the door, looking all sad and pathetic, with flowers in one hand and a speech that I'm 99% sure he rehearsed in front of the mirror for hours. He tried everything, apologies, promises, even tears, which, by the way, I've never seen in our entire relationship. I just stood there, arms crossed, waiting for him to get to the part where he takes actual responsibility. Spoiler, he never did. Instead, he hit me with the classic, "Let's just put this behind us and start fresh. You're my wife. We can fix this." I asked him, "Fix what, exactly?" He blinked like he didn't understand the question. So I spelled it out for him. "You ignored me for years. Let your mother walk all over me. Treated me like an afterthought. And now that I'm gone, now you care?" And do you know what he said? He actually looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Well, you should have told me it was that bad." I laughed. Not just a little giggle, but full-on, doubled over, tears in my eyes laughter. Because, at that moment, I realized something: he never saw me. Not really. I could have been screaming in his face every day, and he still wouldn't have noticed unless it inconvenienced him. I told him I wasn't coming back, not now, not ever. And that's when the real Stefan came out. The face dropped, the tone shifted, and suddenly it was all, "You're really gonna do this? You're gonna break up our family over some petty arguments?" Petty arguments. I slammed the door in his face. My dad actually high-fived me. But wait, it gets better. He texted me later saying, "I hope you know what you're doing. You're making a mistake. Buddy, the only mistake I made was thinking you'd ever put me first." And now, the logistics fun begins. The lawyer's moving fast, and I'm working on getting everything split up. He's fighting over the car that I paid for, mind you, and claiming he needs it more because his mom lives an hour away. I told him he could walk. As for me, I'm finally breathing again. I won't lie, it's hard. The nights are tough, and the baby kicks are a constant reminder of everything I thought this family would be. But every day, I wake up feeling a little bit lighter. I even booked a prenatal yoga class, and let me tell you, being in a room full of glowing moms-to-be who actually have supportive partners? It's like stepping into an alternate universe. And you know what? I deserve that. I deserve a partner who shows up, who listens, who values me. Not someone who needs Reddit strangers to tell him I exist. So, Stefan, if you're still lurking, still wondering if I'll come crawling back, here's your answer. No. Oh, and tell your mom she can keep the cookies. Update 3. Well, here we are. The end of this ridiculous, exhausting, yet oddly liberating chapter of my life. It's been a roller coaster, and honestly, I'm still processing everything, but I figured I owed it to everyone who's been following along to give one last update. Let's start with Stefan. Or, as I now refer to him, that guy I used to be married to. The divorce? Official. Finalized. Signed, sealed, and delivered. And guess what? He barely fought it. After all the begging, the love bombing, the guilt trips, when push came to shove, he caved faster than I expected. Probably because deep down, even he knew he had nothing to stand on. And his mom? She tried to make a last-ditch effort to guilt-trip me into staying by reminding me that family is forever. She even sent a long, dramatic email about how I'm taking a father away from his child and how she was the real victim in all of this. Classic. My response? Silence. I'm done explaining myself. Done justifying why I deserve better. Meanwhile, Stefan has already started dating again. Yep, you read that right. Barely 3 months post-divorce, and he's already flaunting his new start on social media. And would you believe it? She looks exactly like his mom. I kid you not. Same haircut, same passive-aggressive smile. I can't make this stuff up. But here's where things get weird. I found out through mutual friends, okay, and a little harmless online snooping, that he's been spinning this narrative that I left him for someone else. Because, of course, it couldn't possibly be that he was a neglectful husband who prioritized his mom's Wi-Fi over his own wife and child, right? No. In Stefan's world, I'm the villain who ran off with another man. For the record, there is no other man. Just me, my baby, and a newfound sense of peace I haven't felt in years. Speaking of the baby, she's doing amazing. Strong, healthy, and apparently already has a preference for kicking me in the ribs at the worst possible moments. I've picked out her name. No, I won't be sharing it here because I know Stefan's lurking, and I'm excited to raise her in a home that's filled with love, respect, and boundaries. One of the hardest things I had to do was accept the fact that Stefan will always be her father. I won't lie, it scares me. But I've set firm boundaries. We've agreed on a co-parenting plan, one that includes supervised visits for now, and let's just say, it's been interesting. The first time he visited, he brought a pack of diapers. 2 sizes too small. At least he's trying, I guess. But his mom? Yeah, that's a hard no. I made it clear that she will not be babysitting, influencing, or even breathing near my daughter without my say-so. If she wants to be involved, she can start by apologizing for the years of damage she's done. Spoiler, that will never happen. As for me, I'm thriving. I've found a support system in places I never expected. Friends who showed up when I needed them, coworkers who turned into lifelines, and my family, who finally realized how much I put up with in silence. I started going to therapy, and wow, the things I've learned about myself. I spent years shrinking myself to fit into a life that wasn't even mine. No more. I've rediscovered hobbies, set personal goals, and even started planning a solo trip for after the baby's born. Bali might be a stretch, but hey, baby steps. And, because karma works fast, Stefan recently texted me, saying he misses what we had and maybe we can try again after some time apart. I didn't even respond. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that I deserve better. I deserve a partner who values me, who stands up for me, and who shows up when it matters. And until that happens, I'm perfectly content building a life for myself and my daughter, without settling for scraps. To everyone who supported me, cheered me on, and even to those who doubted me, thank you. It's been a long road, but I can finally say, I made the right choice. As for Stefan, well, I'll leave him to his Reddit threads and his new mommy lookalike girlfriend. I've got better things to focus on. This is my last update. And I mean it when I say, I'm done looking back.